Hey guys, I'm Samson and I'm the host.
I'm Ekin.
And I'm Julia.
I'm Jasmine.
And we are the
99. And we are
The
99.
And we are the
99.
And we are the 99.
We are the 99.
We are the
99.
We are the 99.
And we are
the 99.
and we are the 99.
And we are
the 99.
And we are
The 99.
We are the 99.
We are the 99.
We are
The
99.
We are the
99.
We are the 99.
And we are the 99.
Hi, this is Jean,
This is Shua.
and we are the 99. And the reason why we call it 99 is because it is what Jesus said. We are to remain faithful to the Lord as He left the 99 behind and go and look for that one lost one.
Okay, so today's podcast, as you can see, we don't have our, usual host here today. Our podcast today is going to be about youth camp, and so Jean, he's going to be answering some questions about youth camp. Okay, so the first question is, why do you think so many churches are incorporating youth camp in ministry?
Well, the reason for that is because camp can be a way that can bring a fellowship to our youth. It can bring closeness, can bring oneness to our youth, and so that's why so many churches are incorporating this into church, is to have the youth to go out to somewhere where they're not familiar with, where they're not, it's not something that they do on a daily basis, so they can be out there and just fellowship and know more about each other, and most importantly, learn about the Lord.
Yeah, and also I know that our teens now, our youth now, they're very into technology. They're always on their computer. They're always gaming, and there's a lot of temptations, at home, right? And so there's something about taking them away from all of that into the wilderness, into nature, and just building that relationship with themselves, with each other, and with God. You're removing all the barriers that is hindering their growth. And I think youth camp is sort of a very effective and quick way of doing it, because you're pushing them outdoors and they're over there consecutively, like they're over there for 2-3 days, and without all those distractions, and all they really have is just them and God and their participation.
Yes, and it's a good way to have all the electronics, put all electronics aside and just be out there in nature, and just really just get close to the Lord, read the scripture, and just grow together in the Lord, without any distraction. And so that's why we see that a youth camp is brings many benefits to the youth.
Yeah, and not saying that like at church, with Thursday night Bible studies to like our Sunday service, it's not saying that we don't teach the youth Bible. We are teaching them Bible, but it's only benefiting those who show up. And we have those youth who don't always come. They come once in a blue moon, or some of them come, they miss 2-3 weeks, and then then come back, and they have to, it's kind of like they have to start they have to start everything all over again. And I think with the youth, that's one thing, because a lot of the youth now, they have social anxiety, right? And so to redo that, it's like reliving a nightmare to them. And so when you put them at like in a place, when you put them in a place consecutively where they just, you know, have each other, then we've seen that, you know, relationships do grow, and you know that connection gets stronger because of that time period that they're together, you know. So we believe that youth camp is an effective tool for youth ministry, and that's why most churches continue to use it, right? How many youth camp have we had so far since, you know, us leading the youth?
I think we have about 4 or 5 camp with just the youth,
Because we have camp. We don't have camp every year. We have every other year, right?
yeah, we have every other year. As far as I remember, we have about, you know, roughly about 4, you know, or 5, and I do, you know, see, you know, the you know, the difference, you know, that, you know, that we make, you know, the impacts that we make, you know, on our youth, and just having, you know, just having them, you know, out there, you know, and out there, in the, you know, and enjoying nature and out there, and just spending time with each other, you know, and just focusing on the Word of God too. So, you know, we have been making, you know, changes, and we have seen our youth grow in ministry and also in leadership.
So our next question is there a wrong way of doing youth camp? So have you seen youth camp used wrongly, or do you think there's a wrong way of, you know, how we should plan for youth camp?
Yeah, honestly, there's really no, you know, wrong way of planning a youth camp, but I do strongly believe that if we're gonna focus on our youth, right, then we you know, we have to, you know, make sure that, you know, it's, you know, the camp, you know, or you know, where we plan for them, you know, that they will get something out of it, right? And you know, it's not just fun, game, activities, and just, you know, going out there and doing whatever, you know. But you know, when we're talking about a youth camp, then we really want our youth to grow, you know, in ministry and in the Lord. So there's really no right or wrong way of planning it, but I think when, you know, when we're there, then we should have, you know, you know, plan of, you know, what we're gonna do, you know, what how we're gonna teach our youth, you know, what are certain, you know, what are certain activities that, you know, that we're gonna have there, you know, to you know, have fellowship, you know, with one another. And so, like, instead of having you know, nothing and just having a regular camp where we just go and have fun family time and barbecue, you know, I see that's, you know, if we're doing that, then if we're gonna do that, then that's really doesn't benefit our youth at all. And I don't see that that would be that would be a right way for a youth camp.
So what you're saying is that if it's called youth camp, then, you know, it should just be just the youth and not have anything to do with family.
Well, not necessarily. I would just say that if it's a youth camp or it's called youth camp, then it's mainly what we want all the youth to be there, and we would focus on the youth, you know, and make them grow, you know, in the ministry, and you know, grow in learning about, you know, the Word of God, and that's the purpose why, you know, that's the purpose, and that's why we call it a youth camp, is because we want to you know, feed them, we want to teach them, and we want them to grow, you know, and as they're becoming adults.
I know you say that there's no wrong way of doing youth camp, and obviously, you are right. There is no wrong way of doing it. It's according to what your target is, what you're trying to achieve, right?
Yes.
However, do you think we should just let the youth go to camp and just roam freely, like just do whatever they want? Because I think a lot of parents think that when we don't allow parents to go, right, that's what we're doing, is that we don't do anything but let the youth just have fun without the parents.
See, and again, camp is about fun too. We're out there because we do want to have fun, but camp is not. A youth camp is not just about having fun. And yes, we have had several youth camp, and it's just youth, and parents aren't there, and we see that a youth camp can be more beneficial. When we focus more on the youth and just the youth there. When we have like families, parents there, then there's a lot of distraction for our youth, to grow. And so we see that as a distraction, and we see that as a hindrance to our youth. So that's why we've been doing that. We've been having a youth camp, just youth and the leaders. But again, there's no right or wrong way there of planning a youth camp. It can be fun and it can be family as well. But again, we should focus more on our youth.
Yeah. Because we have seen that some youth, right? Well, majority of the youth, they act different when they're around their parents versus when it's just us. We've seen some who are very, very babyish, who would pretend like they have headaches, or like they're hurt, and so they have to go rest. And us as youth leaders, or those who are planning camp, we can't even get them to come and join our activities because they have their parents are shielding them in a sense, right? So it is hard for us, and that's why in the past few years, I don't know other churches, but we haven't let parents come to our youth camp for the past 2-3 camps that we've had. We do it every other year, and we haven't let parents come because we saw that it was hard, because the purpose of us taking them to camp and taking them out is so that they would actually tune everything out. But then if parents are there, then they know how to manipulate their parents. They know how to get what they want, right? And so they would say anything to the parents, and the parents would just like say, oh, just let her sit out, or just let him sit out for today, or for a few hours, and then I'll tell him to come back, And we see that instead of encouraging them, it hinders us more, right?
Right.
The next question is planning camp hard?
Yes, it's hard. Those of you that have planned camp or like camping, like myself, then we all know that camping, it is a hassle. It is a headache. There's a lot into it. It's almost as if you have to take your whole house, all your possessions to camp, right? Just to enjoy it, And there's always one little thing that that you forget when you get to camp. You go, oh, I forget this. It happens during camp. There's so many prepping going to it, so it's hard. I wouldn't say that a camping trip is easy to plan.
Yeah, but not only that, but then planning for camp in general is hard. It is hard no matter what. But for some reason, planning camp for ministry, for the purpose of God's kingdom, right? All these spiritual attack comes all at once, right? And it is hard. What should be easy is 10 times harder, because the physical parts of camp, but then now the spiritual parts, like you're making sure that your leaders are equipped, making sure that you yourself are not burned out, making sure that parents understand what's going on, making sure that the youth, not youth leader, but the church leaders, you know, they understand what you're coming from, and you know, it becomes really really draining.
Yeah, and particularly with those that don't really like to plan these sort of stuff or plan a camping trip, and they don't know. Particularly our parents, you know, they just they don't know how hard it is, you know, for the prepping. They don't know how hard, you know, how much goes into it, and how much planning, you know, how much you know things you need to prepare and you know get ready, you know, just for the camp. And so you know, there's all sorts of you know thoughts and you know even negative thoughts, but you know and so that's you know that's what makes it, you know, hard, you know, and draining, you know, for the leaders, and you know, not just the planning or prepping for the camp itself, but yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. That's why it's so hard, you know.
Yeah, I can't speak for those youth camp who just for the purpose of just being outdoors and having fun. I can't speak for those because our youth camp, it's more like a revival. You know, we have morning service, we have workshops, and then fellowship games, and then we have evening services. You know, so a lot of does go into it. You know, so when we plan for camp, we typically take about 6 months to plan camp, and it goes to the schedule, to the materials that we need, down to the speaker, who's going to be speaking, what is their topic they're speaking on, and then how to incorporate those into workshops, right? So that the youth can actually learn and take away from camp. It's just not memories.
It's well worth it.
Yeah. So, you know, you just answered the next question, but is it worth it? All that headache, all that sleepless nights, you know, is it worth it? And obviously you don't like to sleep on air mattresses at camp. You don't like to sleep on the ground. You're very particular how you sleep. So is all that suffering, is it worth it?
Yeah, it's worth it, you know, if it's, you know, especially if it's for the Lord, you know, then, you know, it's worth it, you know. As I say, you know, you know, it is camp, and, you know, when we think about, you know, camp, then, you know, thinking about, you know, family fun time, but it's you know, really this is like a revival for the youth, you know, and so this is you know what, you know, the believers go, you know, and you know spend time together and you know, study the Word, you know, learn, you know, about their God, and, you know, and be in fellowship with their God, you know. And so yeah, it's really, you know, well worth it, you know. You know, when it's all, you know, done, you know, we come back, we know that our youth get something out of, you know, that camp, you know, because it's not just you know, a regular camp, you know, we're having a fun fishing trip, you know, things like that. But it's you know, when we come back, we know that our you know, there's something planting in them, and you know, there's a seed planting them, and it will grow. So it's well worth it.
Yeah. So this question really hits close to heart because you know, obviously I am the main person to kind of like make sure everything goes according to plan. I'm the one that, you know, reminds the leaders of their roles and all that stuff. And, you know, sometimes when the leaders don't do according to like what we have designated for them to do, right? It gets frustrating, like how I say, you know, if they're not doing their part, then somebody else has to pick up the part, you know. And so for me, you know, the whole camp process, you know, the whole planning camp, you know, it was really draining. It was really stressful, you know. You know, obviously, anytime you have anything big to plan for, you know, you are going to have those restless nights, you know. And, you know, every time we go to camp, you know, in the planning process, You know, it could be the lack of prayer too, because I'm so like overwhelmed that I forget to pray. But you know, I get this feeling like, okay, this is not worth it. Like this is going to be our last camp. You know, I can't do this anymore, and all that stuff. Like it comes to my mind like that. But then when we go to camp, and nothing ever goes according to plan at camp. You know, we try our best to, but it doesn't go according to plan because it's not our plan, it's God's plan. You know, and so when we go to camp, you know, I see how much the youth love it, how engaged they are, how much they learn, and in that short moment that we are at camp, and how much they have grown. It just really humbles me and reminds me that we do what we do not because of our ability, but it's because God, right? And God, this is God's ministry, not our ministry. And so, you know, even though in the moment, in those frustration, you know, I think it's not worth it. When you see the outcome, right? When you see the beauty of the outcome, you know, it makes it so much worth it. We, you know, all the discussions aside, you know, we fully support the youth camp, and you know, the effectiveness of it being a tool to use in ministry. We really believe that is one of our greatest tool when trying to reach out to the youth. You know, we have done outreaches where we go to the youth house and we like play mini fellowships with them and try to encourage them to come to church. We have seen that, and it has worked as well, but not as effective as our youth camp. Our youth camp is something that the youth always has gone away from, and still resonate to it. Like they still remember it, and they always tell us, oh, you know, I remember when at camp we learned this, or remember at camp, you know, the memories that they had there, you know, with their peers. Like they always, you know,
the tears that they shared, you know.
Yeah, they always remember it. They always bring it back, you know, and when we have our Bible discussions. And so, you know, it makes us really happy that, you know, that our youth camp has had such an impact on the youth, right? So with that being said, we're going to play a little clip about what we did at camp.